Today was a fast day. It's commemorating the 13th of Adar, which the Queen Esther fasted on, and for the sake of saving the Jewish people, there was a decree against them, and all the Jews fasted. Everybody did, actually, for 3 days. And the 13th of Adar was when she made her party, invited the king and the minister who tried to kill the Jews. And yet, this year, we don't celebrate on the 13th of Adar, the fast of Esther, because it is Sabbath, Shabbos. We don't fast on Shabbos because Purim, the holiday of the liberation, where the decree was augmented that the Jews are allowed to fight back, and everyone was so afraid of the Jews that they ran away from the, invitation to fight them. So pretty much, we don't celebrate it on the 13th. We don't fast on the 13th, even though the celebration's on the 14th, like other years, because in this leap year, the fast falls out on a Sabbath, the day before Purim. Purim's on a Sunday. So, since when we move it, we don't move it to the eve of Sabbath either, because Erev Shabbos is like the day before Shabbos. We're preparing. It's still special in the sense that we're becoming ready for Shabbos. So we really move it to Thursday. So what is the day used for? The day is used for repentance, as any fast day, and getting in the mind of opening the heart. So I am reading today about opening the heart more and more often with regular present access points, like a touchstone, because activation energy is of the much higher requirement than a maintenance. Like to start and then keep that starting place like ready, so I could always touch back there rather than have to start all over again. It's easier than maintenance or check. It's easier to do maintenance or check-ins, especially when the heart starts to close, to reverse that. Plus to open further, like let's say something's going, then you have to pull, like stop it and open. It requires even more energy. So to set one up for success, we do what's needed, whether it's a sacrifice or a practice, in order to live in an open-hearted way. It's not just about taking it in and letting it out. It's about letting it happen naturally across the semi-permeable membranes concentration gradient. What do I mean? When we have water that's pink and there's a paper and you pour a little pink water on the edge, you'll see the paper start to absorb that pink all the way over. Why? Because there's water moving across its concentration gradient. Gradient meaning grades of how concentrated it is. In this case, concentration, right? Salt water will, if you have something that has little holes, tiny holes in it, you put a balloon that has, not a balloon, but like a cheesecloth or something that has tiny holes, and it has a salt water, and you put it in regular water, the salt will come out to make the water outside because it's moving across the concentration gradient. This is like the natural force of equalizing. And so even when, letting it happen naturally means we don't have to take it all in or let it all out. We let it happen naturally. It's going to equalize, right? The open-hearted revelations, whether it's from sharing or giving of time and energy, when there's no indication of benefit that results in magnetizing open-heartedness without agenda from others too. So we're being open-hearted for the sake of being open-hearted, not just because if I open my heart, I have more room to receive. It actually initiates in others the sense to be open-hearted. And non-judgmental awareness, allowance, confirming, validating, and recognizing are ways with that which of engaging with that which wants to close the heart. Better to harness its power and absorb it. So, in other words, if we see something coming in that's trying to say, I'll get hurt, I won't be okay, I'll be rejected, I'll be a failure, closing the heart, we practice, I confirm that I am afraid of, failing, or I'm afraid that people will see I'm a failure from the outside, or I don't want to be rejected, I don't want to be hurt. I validate, I'm looking out for myself, I'm trying to protect myself, allowing myself for a moment to feel that fear. And non-judgmental awareness means, like, when I'm feeling insecure, I don't judge myself for it. I say, I'm feeling insecure. Basically, we keep making space, and then we can absorb, not just absorb the energy, we could, more than that, we could work with it, we harness it. This energy that wants to close because, this is the energy it knows to protect, I'll use it to move me forward. I don't want to fail, so I'm going to put more into it. I don't want to be rejected, so I'm going to, put myself in such a way that I'm stable. Like I feel insecure, I don't want to be rejected. I'm going to walk a little further and then I'll have something to stand on, right? It's better to listen. In other words, it's better to close the heart temporarily to someone else than externally to myself. So somebody else wants me to open my heart to them, but what I have to do then is close my heart to myself. Like their fear of failure is competing with my fear of failure. So in that case, it's more important that I keep open to my heart, that I am feeling afraid of failure, and not open my heart to that person at that moment, because in this way, I can then engage from a real open-hearted way, versus if I open my heart to them and close my heart to myself, how open is an internally closed heart? I'm not even giving them an open heart. When we honor our irritation, our irrational disappointment or anger, or feelings of regret or justice, we actually open our heart. We might think disappointment is a closed-hearted feeling, but it's not. Disappointment comes into the heart that stays open, anger, injustice, and we know that we can do physical movements from a deep gravity. Like even when these things feel heavy, we could keep our heart open and breathe in. And feel that the heaviness actually helps us to breathe into our feet, breathe into our knees and our hips and our stomach and our arms and our hands. And we could actually, as we breathe and then breathe it out, all these places could release. We do feel like the displacement of breath by the shape shifting in the form, like whatever moves with each breath, and slowly more and more of the body can be breathing, not just, the lung, but the actual body, which takes in air and lets go. It can encourage the heart to open. We can breathe in such a way that we trigger deep open-heartedness. Yawns are good. Sometimes when you're deep breathing and you yawn, it's not necessarily because you're tired. It's because you're triggering a different system of relaxation in the body, because you're getting in that much more oxygen. It's normal. And some people do yoga, like open-hearted postures, and breathe into them. We don't even have to do yoga, especially if, let's say, someone is Jewish or other spiritual faith path. It doesn't match doing, yoga, because it's fundamentally built on having multiple gods, the God of the sun, the God of the moon, the God of the earth. Like in Judaism, we don't believe like that. So we may not want to do yoga, even though I did a lot of yoga, but as I learned more, I realized I could do certain postures, like breathing into an open heart without calling it something else. And also dancing. I like sometimes to dance with certain parts of my body. Like my consciousness moves out of normally where we are more thoughtful into like my hands, and I might be dancing my hands or dancing my hips or dancing my feet, getting into these parts of the body. We could also dance to open the heart. And finally, when we feel hurt, we have to remember, hurt people hurt people. That's kind of the idea, that if we close our heart to ourselves and open it to someone else, we're going to feel a closed-heartedness. It's going to feel like external, because there's a heart I was trying to go in, it's mine, and I closed that heart to myself. It's going to hurt. So how much more open-heartedness can I be to the other person when I'm feeling hurt? I might get triggered even, chas v'shalom, God forbid. It would violate the wholeness. So hurt people, but a little understanding heals the hurt, because it reminds us of the fact that to observe the reaction pattern to discomfort or pain means that we are at least, if not more than the interpreter, we are the observer, which is at least, if not more, than the interpreter actor. The observer is the audience. So the interpreter is interpreting the presentation. The actor is giving a presentation, and then the observer is able to, like, if the actor falls in the presentation, only the actor is affected. The interpreter could say, wow, that looks like it hurts. The observer just watches the actor fall. They don't know if the actor really is hurt, if it's part of the play or not, right? The interpreter is forming conclusions. The observer is recognizing this is a show. Did the actor fall on purpose or not? We don't know. So did the actor get hurt? Understanding heals the hurt, because we say, I felt the person is taking advantage because they didn't call me to ask me if they could come, and they just took it as a given because they did it other days. So that could remind me of the fact that to observe the reaction pattern, it might be I want to tell them, oh, you can't come. Even though in their mind, they didn't know that this was something that I wanted to be told. I want to be asked every single day, let's say, not just like once and then, okay, it's a given. So that's like to observe the reaction pattern to the discomfort or pain is to recognize that hurts. And then we could work with it. Now I learned about this. Delete the other person for a moment. I want to be told when someone's coming to my house, even if I'm comfortable with them and I'm used to their company. So that's an idea that, oh, it doesn't have to hurt. I'm not forced. I can open my heart to my own need and say, well, I need that. And then I can open my heart to the other person and say, they didn't mean to do that. Why did I get hurt? Could be for a number of reasons. But as an interpreter, I don't have to interpret their, their motives, their intentions. I just am able to be an observer and recognize that I don't like it. So that's a small example. And I'll finally share, because it was, a day where we're doing Shuva, we're returning to ourselves and the open-heartedness. We look at our regrets and where we were going to work on ourselves. So I regretted, and this I wrote, obviously all this is from a couple years ago, but I'm just sharing it today. It's still relevant. So I regret giving away my body sexually, giving my time and energy and prioritizing others, giving away my thoughts, my devotion, my commitment, my feelings, and giving my innocence and compassion and my artwork and my forgiveness, all without valuing. And lowering my pride and taking suggestions is something that I was looking into, instead of right away assuming it won't help or that the person isn't divinely inspired, in a way to keep trusting, is a way like to keep trusting my own reception of internal and external influences and guidance. I guess what I'm saying with that is that if I don't have to think I'm, the other person isn't being inspired, or assuming it won't help, I could actually be open, right? We're talking about open-heartedness. I didn't have an open heart to myself and how much it hurt me to give everything away. So the heart that gives away everything is not really an open heart, because it keeps closing. It gives and then it closes because it has nothing. And if those things were not valued, it didn't get back what it was supposed to get, which is love and appreciation and connection and gratitude. Flexibility has more power than rigidity. It can contain more substance and matter in the physical world, even though rigid structures and shells can penetrate the flexible ones. So you think about a knife and an apple. So a knife can cut through an apple, but the apple can kind of bounce. The knife will just get stuck in the floor, right? If you throw the knife, it gets stuck in the floor. I'm giving an example, but the apple could even bounce. It could roll, right? So we see even an apple, which seems hard, has some flexibility compared to like a knife. So of course, all transitions are rawness in space. So it's like a newness, a rawness, a growth, like thinking of literally a carrot growing, or a lobster that changes its molting, that these things are growing into space. It's like raw, pushing out, taking up space. And finally, I was looking at how, choosing a doctor, a healer, a teacher, a mentor, any of these, they call a Rav, which is a Rosh Bnei Yisrael, a head of a group that codifies the laws of Torah for members, sticking to it, keeping to it, adhering to it, choosing something, rather than trying this, trying that.